Yeah. All right. So we're live. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum. Also, let's go. All right. That'd be good to share. That would be good. Let's see. All right. Can you hear it okay?
We are people who've been trapped through time, rejected by society, left to wonder, deaf, dumb, and blind. We know the depth of darkness, ignorance, and shame. A people lost without a name, without a name, shame. And now, here we are, so much tomorrow. Well, with God's truth in our hands, and those struggle lies before us, and this we know for sure. With God's help, we will endure. God is on our side, and this we know for sure. We must endure. You see, God has evolved us just like the butterfly. Now the time has come to spread your wings. Don't be foolish like the ones before you. Don't be foolish. The power of this gift destroy you. The world needs you to show the way. Yes, they do. Yes, now, here we are. We won't stop, no. We'll change the world with God's truth in our hand. And we'll show the world the oneness of human dignity. With God's help, we'll all be free. God is on our side. Don't you know God has been the He has evolved us just like the
So I recognize this is the long playing version. That's the short version.
We'll change the
It's the party
world with
side.
God's truth in our hands, and we'll show the world the oneness of human dignity. With God's help, we'll all be free. God is on our side. Don't you know God is on our side? He has evolved just like the butterfly. We thank you, God, for being on our side. Don't be foolish, no. Don't let this guilt destroy you. God is on our side. God is on our side. God is on our side.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Come on back through the way you're supposed to come through. That's it. Alhamdulillah, thank all of you who are joining us after our hiatus. And mashallah, Ramadan, we always say, I actually had to just remind myself, yeah, we always take Ramadan off. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like one of those, okay, well, we're not going to have it this week. We'll see you next week. You know, no, it was like, it was Ramadan. Okay, so I'm feeling even better now. It's like, sometimes I can feel like I'm shirking my duty if I, yeah, it's like, oh, come on now, it's Monday. You got to do what you got to do, right? Okay, good. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So I pray everyone had a wonderful, those who fasted and observing. This was a special Ramadan. I guess every one of them is, but it's most special because it's the last one that happened. But there was something special, extra special about it. And alhamdulillah, so it's wonderful. You looking like a grown woman. You looking like grown, mature, living, spiritually rich woman. What's going on? Send me some of that. Send me some of that over here so I can get some of that.
Yes, alhamdulillah, it's good. Well rested, recharged. You know, there's something about making a space sacred that you kind of feel good and attached in it. So, you know,
this your first
right?
Hello.
I was just saying that, like,
we missing the juice, right? We missing it. Right. So, let's pump this thing up, right? So this thing we talk about, be real,
right?
Be real. So you're sitting in one of your receipts.
Yes, I'm sitting in one of my receipts. And I'm still designating like which corner. I have multiple, alhamdulillah, corners I could choose from that'll give me the backdrop drapage, right? So let's test this one out this week and we'll see how the others go. But yeah, no, it's just different living in another space, and this brightness is from the natural light of my window.
Yeah.
And so it's feeling good, and I'm grateful. Like with every blessing is a test. With every test is a blessing. Like that, I keep reminding myself of that in each and every moment since being here. And yeah, like you don't give me my set, best friend, because you know what I'm saying.
We are deuces. It's all on you, sweetie.
It's all on me. Alhamdulillah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله. Assalamu alaikum to all of our family. Welcome back. Whether you are with us live or you are catching the recording, we are happy to be back in this year of Quran 2025. It has been a powerful season, and if you have not tapped in, I encourage you to go to the recordings that are available. Go to masjidawartheen.org and tap into those recordings of the year of the Quran. And the year is still fresh and early. Please feel free to join us in this celebration of connecting and community with this beautiful revelation called the Quran, and doing it in community is beautiful. And so I was, you know, the excitement of being back. There was a part of me was like, well, we be ready to come on back. But, you know, it's like, no, we're ready to come back. We was ready to be here. And you all know that I shoot from the hip. It's a spontaneous moment. I check in with myself and I'm like, okay, what are we talking about today? And it is this moment, like I just was saying to Imam, it's like, with every blessing is a test, and with every test is a blessing, right? That when we I'm now living in what I would have to say was, it could not have been crafted any more amazing than what my mind was thinking of for myself for a move. So I am living in a space where I pray every day, like, wow, Allah, like this, I enter this space grateful. But let me share with you what led to this moment. I had, shoot, early part of 2024, I think like end of 2023, early part of 2024. As an entrepreneur, you make these goals and have these focal points around what you want to have happen and the hustle energy of being an entrepreneur. And yeah, and I mean, and I still am an entrepreneur. There is a way that it refocused, and I was like, okay, I need to make a financial plan, and I'm getting older. I'm wanting to what does retirement look like? What does this look like? And as an entrepreneur, you got to have certain things in place, but also as an entrepreneur, you got to invest in the thing you want to grow. It's like you're farming. You are literally a farmer as an entrepreneur. Like, you cannot go to the farm without buying the tools to work the land. You cannot be a farmer without buying the seeds that you need to grow. It requires currency to build a thing. So to be an entrepreneur and not have the currency to, invest in the land that you're looking to grow, it makes it hard. It's like you almost feel like you're hustling backwards in many ways. And so the more I was chasing after a thing, the more it just seemed like I just couldn't catch up, especially when tax time comes around, which is now. We're in tax season, right? As an entrepreneur. And so I was like, okay, I've got to make some shifts. I need to check in with my ego. Meanwhile, I'm living in I'm satisfied and grateful for where I was living. I have a roof over my head. I was in my 1-bedroom apartment, just whatever. But then there was a part for me where I was like, next Ramadan, and this was like maybe a year plus ago. This was not even last Ramadan. It was the middle of last Ramadan. So a year ago, I said to myself, because I'm thinking to myself, I got a year to plan this out. I was like, I don't want to do Ramadan here, meaning the place where I was living, anymore. And sometimes I stutter step when I ask for a thing, because I feel like my human response is like, ooh, you're not grateful for your home, some company if you don't have it anymore. So you immediately go to, oh, if you're not grateful for it, you're going to lose it, right? And so I was really serious. I was like, I want to be in a space where, every corner is a space of worship, where it just feels right. I want to fast my month of Ramadan in a comfy place. And I remember just saying that, but I never thought about it anymore. I didn't go on this journey to be like, what am I going to do to move? It really wasn't that. I just kind of carried on. It was just a thought. I spoke it out loud. I said it to my son. I was just like, yeah, I want to move, and I want to fast in a different environment. And what would that feel like to be in, my ideal space? Now, mind you, nothing was lined up, because we live in California. Moving in California is an ordeal, right? And so I just carried on with life, and business was moving and things were moving forward. So I was like, still didn't think about that I made this declaration of not wanting to do Ramadan in the home that I was in. I'm just still doing the movements. And in the midst of that, went through the biggest financial shakeup. I mean, if one of those financial shakeups to where you just start crying and you go, okay, God, am I doing something wrong? Like, what is this? And I remember sending my dad texts and being like, I want to understand what's happening here. And he had sent me this dua of the prophet, because I was like, it was it was shaking me up, not just in the financial areas, but even in my personal life, just so many things was shedding. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make choices. And I start cutting things out of my life. I sold my car back. I decreased my spending. I started to budget certain things. I was getting in active of paying back debt, even though like it was like, you got a little bit of coins here to do that. I was making some real sacrifices because I was like, let's get active on this. Don't sit in the challenges of a thing. Let's get active. And then it was like, well, what would it look like to look for a part-time job to help you? You could still do what you're doing, but to help you like move this financial thing along, right? And I have a beautiful community of good friends who are also entrepreneurs, and we were talking it through, and we were knocking on the door of the Trump era, and I was just kind of like, yo, I need to be prepared if this medical changes, because if I have to pay for medical, I'm out the box, living in the box, right? So it was like, I needed a plan. So I was like, what started off as a part-time job was to find a job that would allow me the flexibility of working from home and create the income that I could still focus on my business. And I won't have to, my nervous system isn't jolted by needing to pay the bills or so forth, right? And so I started that journey. And in the midst of going on a cruise with my mom and so many other things coming up. So I was applying for jobs, but I was like, yo, I'm not available in August because I'm traveling with my mom, and, some were okay with it. And then I was like choosing jobs just for not really taking into consideration what I wanted. I was choosing out of desperation. And I was like, you know what, Camila, don't do that. Choose out of what it is that you want to do that's in alignment with who you are. And so I changed it up. I was like, if it was in a certain city I didn't feel like commuting to, nope, wasn't going to do it. Even though it looked like I knew I would be a great fit, I was like, nope, not doing that. If it was something that required me to always be in the office, nope, not doing that. I wanted either remote or hybrid. That was my choice. And I had applied for some. And then after a while, when there was nothing coming through, I get closer and closer to it and nothing came through. I took it as, okay, Allah, I guess, I have to trust my business and just go, keep pushing forward. And I walked away from applying. I stopped applying for jobs. And like 2 months had gone by and business was picking up. So I was like, I'm going to boost up my hair business. Like, okay, Camila, we going to make this work, or we going to make it work. So I turned up the hustle grind mode again, right? Game planning, sitting, talking to my assistant, like, yo, this is what we're going to do. Still going. And then another big financial requirement came up, and I was like, and it was a requirement that I needed to keep my business going. So like right now we're entering the window of like, I have to renew my trademarking. Now, the thing that I wanted to understand, because this is wealth creation preservation, right? The thing that I always wanted to understand, like as an entrepreneur, like this time around, because I have a business that I just do hair and I get paid for it. But my business under Love is Always the Subject, my guided journal and publishing business, I said, this business, I needed to be a legacy project. I needed to be legit. I needed to open up a business account. I needed to trademark my business names. So it required me to join the march of what it looks like to be a micro business, because I'm considered a micro business. A small business is like $1 million plus. She's not there yet. Notice I said yet. She's not there yet, but I'm a micro business, meaning that it does generate some income and requires me to have things that I pay for to keep it going and keep it moving. And so I was stark set on, I need this business to be legit on paper. I needed it to show a record of its existence. And so it does require that certain things be paid, that you do your business taxes and all of these things. So even that was an additional responsibility. And So as time was going on, I was like, okay, Allah, this business is my business. And what else do I need to cut back? What else do I need to change? And then opportunities started to show up that were holding me over to cover this big financial responsibility that showed up. And I had no idea how it was going to do what it was clueless. It was just kind of like, okay, if it was for me, I'm gonna get it. And if it's not, then that means I'm okay with releasing it. But I'm gonna move in the direction to solve the problem. And then all these opportunities start to come up. People were contacting me to create guided journals. It was just kind of holding me in space, like, yo, this is something else. And I was like, whoo, right when it was like at the skin of my teeth, boom, something comes up. And I had this moment where after all of the travel was done, my schedule was free, and all of the holiday things have come up, things have gone, whatever, all of these things have happened. Then I get a call for a job that I had applied for like 3.5 months ago. And when they called me, I was like, do you mind resending me the job description? Because I have applied for so many things I don't remember. So when they sent it back to me, and I was like, oh, this one is, I didn't even remember applying for it. I said, but this one is so on point with who I am and what I do. Like, if they were to create a job with my name on it and in it, this would be that job. And it was one of those, the pay was is well. Because I would have never thought that I would qualify for such a position. But something in me was like, go, just apply, go. And so in reading it in detail, it was like, oh, this got my name on it. I want to do this, because it required me to be a coach. It required me to work with families. It required with me to work at a school and do, like, it was just all of the things around wellness. And so I started the process, and it was like a 6-week long process. And I was waiting. And then I got the call that they offered it to me. And I was like, whoa, okay. Mind you, this was in December. Still didn't remember that I had made mention that I wanted to spend Ramadan in a new place, not where I was at. Still didn't remember that was a thought. This is December of 2024 that I started the job. And so I stayed focused on fixing my finances. I was like, yeah, I'm comfortable here. I've lived here. This is good. I'm going to continue to focus on finances, pay off the things within my business and get those things in alignment, still build up my clientele. I'm going to make choices for my business, not out of desperation, but out of alignment with the things that I love to do, that it wouldn't matter whether I got paid or not. And that was one of my best years. Like, that last 2 months was one of the best months of my business, because I was not focused on like, okay, I need to make this much, I need this many clients. I wasn't focused on that. The nose rolled off my back. If someone said no, I was like, okay. I carried on, because I was moving in this space of the ones that I needed to work with or wanted to work with me would find me, and I'm okay with that. So then in that moment, I was like, I consulted with my beautiful network of buddies, and I was like, I want to get my credit in order. I want to get these debts paid down. And so when that happens, then I'll be ready to move. And so I'm giving myself a deadline of May to move. I made that conversation in November. And no, it was past November. It was like end of November that I was, having this conversation, because I'm paying the things off, because I started to get paid with the job, and, had to get some things in order. And then moving is expensive. So I was like, yeah, I'll give myself enough time. I'll save up until this point, and then May, it'll hit. I could go. And me and my son, and sometimes even for myself, I would go to open houses It was just our way of like dreaming in the space, like letting our body feel the ideal of the dream, right? And so some Sundays we would go to open house and then we go to the $5 movie afterwards. And so I was attached to Zillow. And on Zillow, I never checked Zillow rents. Like never. But for some reason I just decided to go on to Zillow rents. Looked on there and some apartments popped up. Then I checked in with my Ia and I was like, this I'm thinking about an apartment, but energetically, think I'm thinking small. She said, yeah, you are thinking small. Like, you don't need to share any more walls. Like, what would it feel like to not share walls? And then I brought it up to my brother-in-law and he was like, yeah, you might not like house living. Like what's to hurt you trying it before? Because I know you were wanting to buy a house. So what would hurt for you to just try it out and see? And so I just went on there, just remembering all of these conversations. I started to look on there, and where I'm living now popped up, and it was just a picture. Now, mind you, prior to me seeing this one, I've walked to other ones that got catfished because it was obvious that the pictures that they put up for them was pictures of when they first redid the house. So, and then I go there and I'm like, oh yeah, no, this not. And it kind of confirmed for me, yeah, Camila, you should wait. You never know what'll pop up later. You should wait. And so I kept just going to see different ones. Then November, this one popped up, and this was about January. Yeah, this was about January. It was January. And I called them and I was like, oh, I saw the pictures and I was like, are you guys showing it? And they were like, yeah, come on through. And I went through and the moment I hit the door, I was like, this is my house. It was just, that's what I said to myself. Because when I hit the door, I was like, oh boy. And I got nervous. And you get nervous because it's like, remember us having the conversation where if anything, if it doesn't scare you a little bit, then you ain't thinking big enough. Well, this terrified me because I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna be able to brace myself if I get disappointed with this. I don't want this disappointment. Like, I want this. And so I walked through and I took pictures of it and I just started to imagine myself in it. I took a video of it, kept it on my phone, and I was like, yeah, I would put this here. And I'm decorating it in my head when I went home. And I immediately applied. I was like, I don't know where this went. I will eat beans and rice to get the money together to move. But then the hiccup came. And I said to them, I will not be ready to move in February. If you consider me, and I know, and they were like, yeah, we have a lot of people that applied. I said, well, would you be open to me moving in March 1st? And they said, yeah, we're open to that if we accept your application. I said, okay, great. I'm going to apply. And so I applied. This was in January. Time had gone by. And so it means I had all of February to get ready. Still, my brain had not dawned on the fact that Ramadan is coming. I'm so focused on like, okay, I got to move. What does it look like to move? They still hadn't told me if they had approved my move. Mind you, my brain was still set on moving in May. They did not tell me I was going to move. But what did I do? They didn't say that I got approved for the house or nothing. I started packing. Listen, it's no logic in any parts of this. I was just like, nope, move like it's yours. I said, let me see how that worked. Let me move like it's mine. And so I did. I went on Amazon, bought these packaging bags. I started packing. I started labeling and identifying what's going, what's staying. I was like, yeah, I'm moving into my house. Like, that's how I moved. And hadn't heard back from them. This was over a week. And I was like, kept looking at it. Shared the video with another friend of mine. And she's like, oh, no, that's your house. And I was like, oh, okay. Shared it with one more person. No, that's your house. And I was like, okay. Two people just immediately was like, and it didn't feel like one of those, your friends is just trying to gas you up and feel good, right? So I was like, okay. I still kept on with the packing up. What does that look like? Putting the money aside, like really cutting back and sacrificing so I'll be ready with the coin. If they come back and say yes, then additional days went by. So I sent a lovely thank you letter. I said, it was wonderful meeting you. And, I'm just checking in to see if you found your ideal tenant for the house, so that I could, carry on with my search, because I really did like the property. And I sent the email. Now I know it felt like a little thirst trapping. Like I was like, ooh, let me get some knowing on this. And hadn't heard back. They said, well, we're still going through quite a few applications. We'll let you know. And then it was just like, okay, well, I did it, but I still kept packing. And I was like, okay, Allah, I trust that because I want this, if this is not mine, I will be okay. Because I know you will replace it with something equivalent or better. And so I'm okay. I'm okay with however you do that. And then I called my mom, because I call my mom's prayers. My mom's prayers is something powerful. And I'll be like, Mom, put one in for your girl. Like, just go ahead and send that prayer up for your girl. And so she was like, oh, every day. I was like, no. This one, like, pray on this one, right? Like, say my name and this one. And she was laughed at me. She was like, okay. And so the day went by. We were all together at my sister's house. We went over there to stay the night and were hanging out with each other. And I was up middle of the night talking to my sister, and we were just chopping it up and talking about life and all of the things. And then I get an email, because I was telling her something about, I don't even remember that. I wish I would have remembered what we were talking about. But I got the ding, and they sent me an email that they were offering me the place. And I told my sister, and the whole house erupted. Went down, made Fajr with my mom the next morning, and I told her, and she cried, and she was just so happy for me. It's just things were lining up. And it's like, at that moment, I was like, okay, because everything I asked for has arrived. And I'm here. I'm in this moment. Then the reality that Ramadan started the day that I move in. Now, when I say the day that, like, I slept in my home February 28th, because, so that means suhoor, like my Ramadan started the Maghrib of the 28th, because the fasting, the day of fasting, meaning we don't eat, happened on the 1st. So I was able to get in there literally on the first day of Ramadan, which was Maghrib of February 28th. And that's when it dawned on me, wow, you spoke this into your reality last Ramadan. You said that you wanted to do Ramadan in a place where the energy and worship is just flowing freely in that space. And this is what I believe my home is and feels like for me and in this reality. And so then the challenges, not in a bad way. I want you to hear me when I say this, that there is a responsibility. When I say with every test is a blessing, with every blessing is a test, like, I remind myself, even the challenges with work, like coming into a job, though it is in full alignment with what it is that I do, I am in control of it, right? But even in a managerial position, you're working in a collaborative space. You are working with others. You're exchanging energy with other people. You are working with a staff that you're managing to create a relationship with. Like, there's tests in learning to be a leader in a new space, right? Especially with the cultural differences and, the being socially correct and all of that. I've been out of the workforce for over 10 years. And so I'm learning the new language, the new way to navigate, the new ways of, how to have interactions and proper exchanges of communication, technology, just all of it. It was a lot, right? And then the shifts of that, and the shifts of moving, and the shifts of the responsibility of what that looks like. All of the things were happening, boom, 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 back to back. And I always had to remind myself, like, girl, you prayed for all of this. So now you have to expand your capacity to farm the harvest that you have been blessed with. So we talked about in let me look at my time. Okay, let me bring this to a close, because the reason I had to give you the layout of this whole story, because sometimes we can reach a destination, and when we reach that destination, there's a part of us that's being like, oh, I didn't sign up for that. Well, no, you didn't sign up for that, but there is a moment that you have to recognize that farming 40 acres is like, it's one thing, and then maintaining it so that the next harvest you could do 40 acres plus, or maintain that same 40 acres, right? You don't want the next year's harvest to be smaller than what you created in this harvest. So it requires you to bring in more staff, bring in more farmers. It requires you to check out what's happening in the seasoning. That is going to, you have to be a student of what it is that you've harvested for yourself. So when the blessings show up, the blessing is an opportunity for you to study and understand, okay, Allah is giving you an opportunity to expand oneself and really recognize what is supposed to grow out of me in this moment. Yes, celebrate it. Yes, it's wonderful, but you're going to discover something amazing out of yourself. You know, for those who have never been married or who were single for a while, and then you get married and you find that mate that you was looking for, and then you guys get married, and then y'all move in with each other, and then it'd be that one little pet peeve moment, and you be like, what is this? It's in that moment you got to remind yourself, you prayed for this opportunity to have companionship. You prayed for this opportunity to share your life and have this life partner with you, this supporter. And so now you have to learn how to communicate with this new human being that is in your life. You have to learn how to, coordinate what works well. Like what's your better ways of communicating? What's your love language? You have to learn how to consider pulling out 2 mugs of coffee as opposed to your 1 mug in the morning, just because you're being considerate and thoughtful of the person you're sharing your life with. That's with any blessing. So when you ask for the thing, you ask for the child, you ask for the job, you ask for the home, you ask for the business, there's a responsibility that comes along with it that you have to now nurture it so that it can expand. And it expanding means that you must expand. So I know I went over time, but I missed y'all. So in that, it's like with every blessing is a test. So when the blessing shows up, this is like, okay, so what's it? Let me see if I've learned what it is that I learned that got me here, because now I got to add another weight to the bar to lift, right? So you've mastered lifting 10 pounds, and then something comes up. It's like, okay, can you lift? I'm about to add some more on here. What's the skill set that you use to get masterful at 10 pounds? Let's see if you can use that same skill, or you need to learn a new skill in order to lift 20 pounds, right? Same thing with the blessing. You be grateful that you made it to this stage to even be strong enough to take on the capacity of something more. And then you ask Allah support to what is it that I need to learn about myself in this moment, so that this test can then become a blessing. And that blessing continues to test me, which continues to expand my capacity for the greater, beautiful, most expansive and merciful experience that Allah has for us. And with that, I'm calling you man back into the room. You're muted, beloved.
Where you get all that from? MashaAllah.
Yes.
So no, alhamdulillah. So, I mean, you told that's a beautiful story. You need to patent that story. That's no, seriously. That story is one of those mainstream headline, center stage, main presentation, TED Talk stories.
Yeah.
Now you know I don't flatter, and I
Yeah.
don't play that. You need to lock that one down, rehearse it,
Yeah.
and take it on the road.
Yeah.
It's,
Alhamdulillah.
I'm very serious. Okay,
Thank
love
you.
you, but I got to go.
Do that.
All right. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to jump right out of the energetic space that she was working with and go on with what I intended to. So there's no problem about time or anything like that for that. So it was just really just wonderful. All right. So my focus today is Trump tariffs, and the Fed and Bitcoin. Now you all know. I tell you, I remind you. So I get to remind you just one more time that we started talking about Bitcoin when it was like $4,000. Well, and that was seriously late. Well, take that back. It's never too late for Big. So I don't take that. Forgive me. So, but for as far as going from 0 to 4,000, I mean, when it hit 1,000, that was December. I mean, remembering that December 2016, uh, and hasn't been back to that territory ever. Um, so so the point is now it's 78,000, and then I just have to touch on these things to give you a little more of a context. It's because what we have to say is just terribly significant, brother and sister. Keep going. So the idea is that what is afoot right now, what's going on right now, is like this is a setup for a change. I don't know. This change will still be young 100 years from now, and that change will be such that whoever doesn't make the right moves right now, your future generations are locked in to a poverty cycle in that same 100 years, which will still be young, meaning the full blown whatever damage, pain, what have you, that will come from missing this opportunity. It will be like an irreversible error. It will be an irreversible. So even if I'm not here, if since I'm not going to be here 100 years from now, what will I have? What will I have left? Those generations that populate whatever the world out of my gene pool, let's just say, in the generations following that. It's like, what did you ever do? One of the we have those network marketing type presentations. One of the strongest questions that I ever heard asked, and it stayed with me just all the time. The group was asked, how many of you know your grandfather, right? And a few people raised their hand. How many of you know your great grandfather? Even fewer hands. And of course, among Bilalians, you're going to get low hands. Some people don't even know that. I was a Bilal, don't even know their fathers, for that matter. But the point is that the point they made is that you want to know why you don't know your great grandfather? It's because he didn't leave you anything. See, if a relative leaves you something, you're going to remember them. Okay. So in terms of the situation as it obtains right now, and as I get to the detail, it's like this is an opportunity right now, and even at this moment, where those who are looking at, well, yeah, it was at 100,000 Bitcoin, it was at 100,000, 109,000, in January. Everybody thought it was going to go up. Look where it's at now. It's like 79,000, whatever the case may be. So they look at, it's like it's gone down, right? I got to get out of this, but this is kind of the introductory point. This is probably one of your last opportunities to get it at that level, right? Without doing the technical analysis aspect of it, even as a novice that I am, the point is that level, the 76,000, 79,000, that's like what you would call like the bottom, and that's really the top. That's like it's not going to get much closer than that. It's for you to reach and get a piece or what have you, because it's going back. So this is why this part of the conversation is just so very, very important. So I'm going to get on with it. So I want you to have a sense of it. This is like on certain other subjects. When I have, quote unquote, more time, taking the time, I line things up. I line things up, a little stronger, if you will, than I have done this. So I'm going to ask for a little more patience with me today, because I have to speak to you about the back. You're hearing all these things going on, Trump and the tariffs and the bloodbath on Wall Street, and the failing and selling of stocks, and tariff wars and those kinds of things. And it's like, what is he doing? Why is he doing that? You got people say, oh, what the hell is he doing? You don't know what he's doing. Others say, yeah, he's doing exactly what needed to be done a long time ago. The Biden administration, there's a lot going on economically. And my hope is for this time that we spend together is for us to understand there's a method behind the madness, right? Brother and sister, truly there's a method behind, and Allah knows best. Trump is, let's just call it crazy like a fox, right? I mean, when it comes to business, and if the business of America is a business, the business of America is business, blah, blah, it's like that. When all boils down, when it's all said and done, it's not about religion, it's not about politics, it's not about culture, it's not about race, it's about economics. In the world that we live in, all that other stuff is like smoke screen, clouds, fog, curtains, illusion, the Wizard of Oz, what have you. It's about the money. Follow the money. Okay? So let's get to it. So you got all these headlines, and what I'm going to just walk through. I just left mine. I didn't do a PowerPoint kind of thing. I'm just walking you through my notes. Okay, so the idea is to understand the starting point for my issue is like really wanted to understand the Trump tariffs, right? I'm not going to go into tariffs particularly, but the tariffs say, okay, if you want to sell stuff in my store, then you're going to have to pay 20% more of what you bring. So like you bring in your thing costs $100, then you're going to have to give me $20. That's 20%. You have to give me $20, then you can come in and sell your stuff, right? So that's what the tariff is. The tariff is a toll to bring your stuff into America. Okay, well, you're going to put tariffs on us, and we're going to put tariffs on your stuff, right? So all of that, right? So the method to the madness, the strategy, the intention, that's a part of what I'm talking about. And let me give you the key point, no matter which way we go as I walk down this path, the key point has to do with I believe that Trump's strategy, and it's very plausible and reasonably the case, that he's putting pressure on the Fed more than anything, more than putting pressure on China or Vietnam or Britain or Canada or Australia or whoever else. No, the pressure is actually on the Fed, right? The Federal Reserve, which is neither federal and they don't have any reserves. It's like it's the Wizard of Oz of the money game in America and the world. So the Federal Reserve of the United States of America is really on the top of the money hill in the world, right? Because it controls the money for America, which is supposed to be the most powerful nation in the world. So the most powerful nation is under the power of a non-governmental institution that controls its money supply. All right. And so that's the creature from Jekyll Island is one of the ways that it's described. So it's like, okay, when everything is hunky-dory, everything's fine, and it's fine. But yeah, it's like we're ready to get that monkey off our back. That's the Trumpists and the others, I think libertarians and Austrian School of Economics, blah, blah. Those people say, yeah, go get him in the Fed. Elon Musk, he said, I've always wanted to say that, in the Fed, right? So it's sort of like it's coming to, I think, some of the languages, loggerheads right now. It's like, okay, now we know you've been the Phantom of the Opera, and you're the ugly creature that we've had to live with because that's the way the design was, and because you had the other politicians, et cetera, in your pocket, so you were able to have your way as long as you greased the skids and kept the debt ceiling moving up and whatever the case may be. All right, so we're talking about behind the headlines. Got to give a little history right here. So we're just gonna try to just read these things right now so we can get the background. You have to have the background, okay? And one of the critical backgrounds as we go, the Fed is unwelcome. It has been unwelcome for a long time, right? But now the political atmosphere and the grievances of the population and Trump's harnessing of that grievance and aiming it at the Federal Reserve, etc., the government itself, really, for that matter. It's like now's the time to strike, and that's really what Trump is doing, right? So let's look at it. The founding fathers and central. So the Federal Reserve is a central bank. Central bank are not holy and sacred, born out of nature. It's a utility that was created by elite money holders in the world, and they're all over the world, right? The People's Bank of China, the Japanese, Japanese central bank, Britain has one. There's just all in the world. That's just how it is. So. Okay, so many of the U.S. founding fathers were skeptical of centralized banking power. Thomas Jefferson strongly opposed the central bank, fearing that it would concentrate power in the hands of financial elites and undermine states' rights and agrarian democracy. He said, I believe that banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies. James Madison, though later moderate, originally shared those concerns about the constitutional overreach in establishing a central bank. Now, on the other side of it, Alexander Hamilton, who was the first Treasurer Secretary, was the primary advocate of the Bank of the United States, 1791. Let me mention this, and we'll keep going. Look up Alexander Hamilton. Look up his background. There were those people who you came along with the 13 colonies and who, it's good, we're independent, we want to do this, but they weren't really trying to break away from Britain. There were those. I can't say sitting right here that Alexander Hamilton was one of them, but my sense of remembering reaching into this material earlier that they had this aristocratic, the idea of the haves and the have-nots. That's that's a more crass way of saying it, but the elite and the plebes, whatever you want to call them. And so Alexander Hamilton, which is this advocacy for central bank, was a part of that class of people. Yeah, we're over here, man, but we're not trying to separate from what made us who we are, i.e., Britain. So let's mention that and keep going, because when the central bank got established, it meant the victory of those people over and against the James Madisons and the Thomas Jeffersons, and it took 100 years plus to do that, because it got established in 1913. But it was desired as early as the founding years of United States of America. So you can see that this thing didn't come into existence, offhand, and not without opposition over centuries and centuries. And it also explains how it was finally achieved. What comes to mind is this horrible image of how occupied Palestine, known as the State of Israel, actually came into existence after a horrible, King David Hotel. Just think about you look the Irgun, and you got to think about Menachem Begin and Itzhak Shamir, and I've got to give you those names, and the British Mandate and all that. You got to look at it was a terrorist movement and action, etc. They did some horrible things, and finally they did that, and kind of like just snatched up recognition out of in the UN scenario. And with the United States of America, we're second that emotion, right? Right? Okay, we dominate this, and we're second it, and then the rest is a horrible history connected with that. But in a very similar way, the forming of the Federal Reserve came, under utterly questionable circumstances, in the midnight in the absence of people who could oppose it, and the legislation passes. So when the sun rises, it rises on the existence of a central bank called the Federal Reserve in America, and currently, as it stands right now, the rest is also history. So G. Edward Griffin's book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, published in 1994, it paints the Fed as a private banking cartel created in secrecy to serve elite interests. The Fed was established in 1913 after secretive meetings on Jekyll Island, Georgia, between bankers and politicians. I mean, you can read that story, get that story, YouTube, you can get it there. So the criticisms regarding the Fed is that the Fed is a privately owned member banks hold stock in the regional Federal Reserve banks. I mean, look at that. I have these other notes somewhere else. They have a guaranteed 6% dividend of whatever the assets are of the Federal Reserve, i.e. the member banks that they are there. They have stocks. They can't trade in the stocks, but they have a guaranteed dividend that doesn't matter. Money go up, money go down. Every year they get that 6% dividend against whatever the total asset base is for the Federal Reserve. So whatever. So if it's $6 trillion, what have you, okay, here's your 6% dividend. Private bank. That's not the government. The government don't decide. Congress don't decide, etc. You're a member of the bank. And if you are a commercial bank, you have to be a member. You have to pay into that system. It is a definite cartel, right? Banksters, right? It operates with minimal democratic oversight. It said, when was the Federal Reserve ever audited? That's what this whole Doge, Elon Musk, etc. Then which goes along with the idea: is there really any gold in Fort Knox? I mean, that issue. Who's ever audited? Who's the last time it was counted? Who's got the record? Those are the kind of things that Trump and Elon are sniffing out. So, I want you to understand that's what's going. But then you should also understand, this is a battle of the Titans scenario too. It's like don't think don't think the Fed boys, they're not wusses. Like, I'm gonna keep it clean. They ain't no wusses, right? It's like I think about Godfather, the Godfather with Michael Corleone and what have you, and he was trying to go legit, and he was talking to the Catholics. Enough of y'all seen this to know this reference. you're talking to the Catholic Church, and then you have those people who are, they got the holy robes on and all that, sanctimonious thing around them and that aura of holiness or whatever. But beneath them robes in the movie, right? Beneath them robes is just straight gangsters. Just like, oh, you a gangster? We're a gangster. We just play ours this way. You play yours that way. Boom, boom. And so that's what we also say about Trump now. Trump is gangster, right? He is. Right? You see his mugshot. He wanted that mugshot. I mean, you got to laugh about it at some level. So yeah, he was he is gangster, wants gangsters, knows gangsters. That's what he's saying. I know how y'all operate. Because I was operating with the system from the flip side of it. I know y'all. I know what you do. I know how the game go. Okay, now I'm in the catbird seat. This happened, but look, don't make the mistake of thinking. I want to cover this. Catch that part right quick. It's like I'm not counting Trump as a quote unquote straight good guy. Okay. But again, I say, as I always say, to us understand the qadr. وَقَدْرِ خَيْرِهِ وَشَرِّهِ مِنَ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. So it's like nothing is 100% good and nothing is 100% bad. No one is 100% good and no one is 100% bad, right? So there may be some benefits that come from the bad side of the individual, and there may be some harm that comes from quote unquote his good side. Let's put it like that. I know that's kind of jumbled, but for example, he's making moves on these tariffs, right? And making moves, and it's hurting some people in their economic situation, and some people perhaps that don't quote unquote deserve the kind of pain that's coming from the decision. But it's a strategy, it's a tactic, it's something that quote unquote has been decided. Well, okay, we're going to try this. This is going to be our attack, right? So the idea is sometimes the pain comes before the pleasure. Sometimes you have to pay that cost, and so it's like it's a painful thing, but it may be that you dislike a thing through which it brings about a great deal of good, right? Maybe that you like something that you should hate, maybe that you hate something that you should like. This is the Quran, right? And so that's also a part of the strategy. So I'm not blanket. I feel a very strong benefit, and inshallah we'll get to it. I feel a very strong benefit coming, especially as my interest is cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, etc. No matter what it looks like right now, seeing behind the curtain and looking down the road and assessing the strategy, say, okay, this is going to be good. And let me be real clear about that. He has if you just in case you don't know, he has a very real interest, and his family has a very major investment. I'm talking about the Trumps, major investment in mining cryptocurrency. It's just like somebody owning a gold mine. It's like they have major interest in that. You've heard some of the things that happen with the meme coins and different things like that. It's like they are truly interested in, to put it lightly, in Bitcoin, etc. He's made the declaration about Bitcoin reserve, etc., etc. So a part of this tariff strategy is also tied to the inflow benefit that's going to come to cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, and especially as that relates to stabilizing the economic future of America and the role that Bitcoin plays in it. It's crystal clear. This is not secretive kind of dig under this magazine and find in the back page of this. This is front page news, clear declaration. So, but the strategy of tariffs and its impact on Wall Street, and the impact on Wall Street, its impact on Bitcoin investments, it seems to have a dampening effect. But that is Allah knows, but that is temporary. But then that's also one of the ways that, okay, we need to get this price down so we can get more of it, right? That's the story of the decline in the price, and it has everything I can say to do with the fact that the regulatory and the oversight, governmental intervention has not officially come to cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. There's some things that have been legitimated to that crypto's like going mainstream. Like you talk about BlackRock, you talk about MicroStrategy, you talk about different companies, different corporations, different financial institutions, major, massive financial institutions. But the regulatory environment, which is what the current cabinet of Trump, that's what they're working to get the get the whatever the guidance and the guidelines and the regulatory environment and all that, so that now it can start being regulated, which the goal is to make it completely safe for the 401ks and for the retirement plans and for these other people to get involved, because where's the police? Basically, so like, I'm gonna bring my money in here, but where the police, where the security guards at? Because I'm bringing a whole lot of money over here and I don't want to get robbed, in literally speaking. So that's okay, so that's not happening, that's not in place right now. So there's still room to do things, because even like the price, we can talk about this, and I'm just going to continue trying to express it this way, because there's a lot of notes that I do have. But in principle, to understand that, see, as long as it's not regulated, then that means there are people who are in a position to make moves, which under a regulatory environment and under a regulatory regime, it's like, nah, you can't do that. Like what? I can do things, I can manipulate this unregulated market, i.e. Bitcoin, because I have a $10 trillion stash, right? And everybody can see whatever is being done because it's a transparent, global, decentralized accounting system. So everybody can see what everybody's doing. Everybody can see, how much money is moving from here to there, from this wallet to that wallet. That's fine. Everybody can do that. But what that also does is that puts the person who has those deep pockets and wants more Bitcoin, puts them into a position to put fake, meaning hezzy, right? Hezzy. Let's go basketball. Come on, some of y'all know about basketball. When they got the Allen Iverson, juking. It's like, I'm calling it juking. So it's like he can look like he's gonna go that way and then swoop, then it goes the other way. Well, that's what big dollar whales, they call them, can, and I say are doing right now. Because so Bitcoin is about to become a real thing in the realest way as it relates to global economic equities and blah blah blah. But there's a very limited supply of it, and so a lot of it's been bought up already. So it's like there might be 1 million Bitcoin left when you take away everything that's been purchased, held in wallets, and that have been lost early in the game. So that means there's only, round figures, 1 million by some estimates left in the world, period. And it's the hardest of hard money. It's induplicable. You can't counterfeit it. You can't create more of it. And the demand for it is going up, and the supply for it is going down. And people who are competing for it is going. But since the regulatory environment has not come in yet, some of the big monstrous money holders, we're talking the Arabs, the petrodollars, and so many others, they haven't really stepped up to the plate. Behind the scene, there are things that are being done, but they haven't really stepped up to the plate, because there's going to be a time where the only way you're going to get it is be able to take it off the market. You have to buy it, and that means you have to buy it at market price. And these dudes that we're talking about right here, man, I ain't gonna pay that much for it. But it's gonna come a time where if you don't get that, it's like you're not gonna have any choice but to pay retail. So those who are seeing, the end of the line, just doing the math, They said this stuff's going to be running out. We know how strong it is. We know how weak fiat is. We know how weak the traditional financial system is. We know the dollar is going out. We know that the world is changing. Everything is going technology. Is AI this, AI that. So it's like, no, paper money is dead. Dollars are dead in that form, right? We'd have to talk about other things, about digital dollars and the rest of that, which that's being worked on too, but not in the ugly way that it was had in mind. So I hope you're able to stay with me a little bit or a lot. so the point is to understand that the Federal Reserve was created so that what we know now, the JP Morgans, the traditional finance people, etc., they've been riding the horse of economic dominance from that time, 1913. So just think about the Gettys, the Rockefellers, the JP Morgans, whoever all those other names were, that were the men that built America, whatever, steel, railroads, oil, finances, whatever the case may be. It's like that was that quote unquote old money that is still, heavily in charge, globally speaking. But the point is that the foundations for their wealth is grounded in the nature of an economy that is going, right? But they still have that power. And so when it comes to banking, when it comes to the banking is, let's just call it, the last bastion of those who have power. The last that and the power of that power is the Fed. So the Fed is like the dragon guarding the gold. Okay. And the new money, see, like all those people, maybe not all those people, it's rhetorically is enough to say, who's in Trump White House? Tech billionaires. I mean, the poster boy for it is Elon Musk. It's tech bit. It's not that old money. It's not. It's not the railroad money. It's not the oil money. It's not the whichever one we're missing. It's not the traditional finance banking money. That's not who's in there. So that's the army that's up against the dragon, i.e., the Fed, who is they want to end that system to start another system, and that system is going to be cryptocurrency. And that's just because the life of fiat currency is always, it goes away. Just look up, who the world's reserve currency. What has been just the history of, you go with Portugal, you go with Switzerland, you go with Spain, you go with Britain. Look at the history of those monies as the world reserve currency. The dollar is the last, meaning the last, latest, most powerful former quote unquote fiat. That means the last one to be in charge, as it is right now. The dollar, the American dollar, and it's only worth like three cents per dollar, etc. The point is, the world of fiat currency and even the gold-based world, it's over. It's over. And Bitcoin is the new real hard money, digital gold, blah blah. That's what it is. But it's almost gone for as far as the calculation of the 21 million, the 21 million, not dollars, the 21 million Bitcoin that's of it. It's like the sun is setting on that supply. So it's like that. So more, all these assets that are over here, priced in dollars, etc., they're going to be moving to Bitcoin per se, and it's the nature of it, and it's what these big boys know. They know that is the case, and again, you have all this crypto heavy administration that's in there right now, who are also seeing the sunset on the available supply of Bitcoin and also the decline that's happening with the dollar, and how the traditional finance system and all these other assets are ultimately going to be moving into that store of value. And they're just saying, I don't want to the the Trump White House excuse me, the Trump White House and the big dollar people, I have to say, like the Black Rocks of the world, they see the sun setting on the dollar system, and they see the sun rising on the Bitcoin system, and they see the limited supply, and they see the coming demand from nations. Right, we're not even just talking about private wealth holders, just nations wanting to get in and say, okay, well, we need to do something right now, because once that Bitcoin is claimed by someone, you can't get it unless they sell it to you, right? And people who understand the value of it say, man, I'm not selling this, right? And so therefore, that therein lies the reason for the battling for it. So yeah, so okay, so let's understand this. The problem with the Fed, right? So the Fed policies inflated asset prices disproportionately. That is the way that it does business. Remember, in the final analysis, the Federal Reserve is a cartel of private banks trying to make money in the financial system. That's what they are. They're in it for a profit. They are not a federal government agency, right? They're in it for profit, and the way that it's structured and the way they got it legislated in is that they're sitting in a position where they can legitimately control monetary policy, monetary supply, etc. They are actually controlling the economy, right? And so the Fed policies inflated asset prices, which worsen the inequality. That is, look up this word Veblen goods, Veblin. And you look at how prices got blown up in the roaring 20s, and ultimately the stock market crash and all that. It had to do with, happy times, happy days are here again, and whatever. There was just so much money that was coming in, and those people who were first in line for the money, they were able to buy so much art, automobiles, real estate, precious metals, gems, etc., and just push the price of those things up and increase the wealth of those who were near the door of the money printer, and those who were not, they went down until the bubble burst in 29. But let's understand this, that the idea of central banks, people say, oh, they're communists. They accuse the communists. What's the problem with the economy? Because they don't believe in free markets. They have planned economies, etc. Well, that's precisely what the Fed and central banks do. They control the economy, right? Central banks, by definition, intervene in markets, setting interest rates, controlling the money supply. This contradicts strict free market ideology, which prefers that prices, including interest rates, be set by market forces. So that's one of the things that the Federal Reserve does. They set the interest rates, and that's a big target for tariffs with regard to Trump. He wants to pressure the Fed into reducing the interest rates in order to save the economy. So in terms of his crashing Wall Street, with the impact of his tariffs on all of our global economic partners, that causes Wall Street and those people, listen, when they talk about what's the guidance, what's the expectations, so stocks go up and down based on meeting or not meeting expectations, right? So once an expectation, okay, whoever GM said, okay, we expect this year we're going to turn at maybe a 4% profit, blah blah blah, right? Okay, then here comes some tariffs, against you said you're going to do 4%. Okay, well, here come tariffs, and the tariffs are saying that, well, the supply chain for what you have to have in order to accomplish this 4%, that's being cut off because you're not going to be able to get what you have without paying more for it. And so therefore your profit is not going to be as big as you're projecting it. And we own a portfolio with your stocks in it. So we need to get out of this because you ain't going to get there, and I'm not going to let my money go down waiting for you to get there, because these tariffs are going to stop you from doing the fundamental thing that you do to get to that 4%. So multiply that 500 times, Fortune 500, multiply that 500 times, and then that sinks the price of the equities on Wall Street, what have you. So that's going down. Okay, so then that forces the Fed, because since the Fed's double mandate is to keep inflation low and maximize employment, blah blah. Okay, that's the Wizard of Oz story. That this is what we're here to do, right? No, you're here to make profit for your subscribers to the central bank paradigm. But that being the case, so when tariffs create that kind of problem, push it down. So it's like Trump looking at the Fed. Okay, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? So on the other side, Jerome Powell, whoever has to look, well, it ain't so bad. You go ahead, you can go. That's the game of blinksmanship that they're playing. Who gonna blink? You gonna lower the rates? It's not so. It's gonna be a little inflation. Whatever. So what I'm trying to point out to you, that's a big part of the tariff game, is Trump trying to pressure, because it's like Batman villain. I think the last time I saw something like that was like one of the Spider-Man series, right? Spider-Man or Superman. Well, so the evil, remember Khair Shadow. So it's like, so the evil dude, he's about to get jumped on by the hero, right? So what he does, he takes the hero's girlfriend and throw her off the bridge, and then you have these people on the bus that the hero is trying to hold up and catch the evil guy. Well, the evil guy forces you with a choice. Okay, you're gonna save the people on the bus, you're gonna catch me, or you're gonna let your girlfriend die. What you gonna do, right? Well, that's the kind of game that Trump is playing, but he's playing that against the world. That becomes China, because China's on the other side of it. China ain't no joke. You already know that. So, but it's still game. It's like, man, I'm thinking Dirty Harry now. It's like, yeah, what you gonna do, punk? You feeling lucky? So I know Trump is on that Dirty Harry mode right now, right? So that's what's going on in the world right now. In the meantime, those who are, they're about getting it. I'm talking about, it's like, okay, listen. You just have to have a sense of, there's some people who, I don't know. I guess the language has to be, they're laying in the cut, right? They're laying in the cut. They see all of what's going on. They see the fight. They see the battle, but they don't have to be so. They have to be aware of the impact of the battle, etc., and see how the impact impacts their bag, literally speaking. Okay. And so they're over here on the crypto side, because that's where the real action, the front page action as it relates to whatever, the tariffs and the Fed and all of that. That's kind of like, that's front page mainstream kind of news. But it's what's behind the news that is really makes a difference in terms, okay, what are you there for going to do? Okay, you see the headlines, you read the headlines. Okay, what are you going to do in the context of your investment strategy in terms of that? And do you see how this relates to an incoming reset of the economic order that's happening in a place that people don't see that is connected with this incoming reordering reset of the economic world, and those who are focused on their bag, watching their fight on one side, those who are focused on their bag, it says like, yeah, I am focused on getting ahead of a reality that's coming that is going to change the economic future of everybody in the world, and it can change for you in the most positive way from an intergenerational wealth perspective, or it can change for you in the most tragic way. Because when the smoke clears out of all this stuff that's going on, out of all these distractive headlines, out of all these headlines where it doesn't mean anything for you for your investment behavior. Because if you're listening to it and looking at it and you're not deciding what should my investment behavior be in the light of all this that's going on, it's like for some people it's just pure confusion, it's pure chaos. So you stay away from it, and therefore you just let it happen, right? It's the ostrich head and the whole kind of thing. It's like, because it's gonna happen. It's happening as we speak, and all this pot boiling, etc. When the smoke clears and when these matters are concluded, there will be massive winners and massive losers in this situation. And while I say it, we're going to start winding down here. While I say that the Fed is a target, so I'm saying Trump tariffs and the Fed, they are, having blinksmanship, playing chicky or what have you with each other from the economic perspective. Okay, that's going on, right? The impact of this game of chicky that they're playing has investors in traditional Wall Street, et cetera. They have them at a level of uncertainty, so people are pulling back in terms of their investments and selling certain investments, and so putting their money on the side until the smoke clears on it, right? And again, so in the same way, that means that these same people that are selling off assets in order to protect themselves until the smoke clears so they won't lose anymore, that also means that they're pulling their investment, the weak hands, they're pulling their investments out of cryptocurrency, pulling their investments out of Bitcoin, et cetera, because they're looking for a safe haven in that sense. Okay, the other side of it is that in reality, Bitcoin is still in the nature as it really is. But if you don't understand that, then you're not going to trust that. And so as a result, then you're not going to see it as one of the safe havens, and you're not going to see the lower price as an opportunity. It's like wealth on sale, right? This wealth, this intergenerational wealth, will cost you today 30% less than it would have cost you in January. It's like intergenerational wealth on sale for 30% off. It's like, I'll wait and see. I'm telling you, it's a whole another story. So the point is, but there are others who are, again, not distracted, understand the nature of the politics, understand the up-down cycle that's going to happen, understand this is a part of the nature of life and economics. And here you have the new kid on the block, and it is unique in and of itself, and it is the future. It's the present and it's the future. And if I can, while it's still unregulated, while they're fighting over there, while it's still unregulated, I can put my finger on the scale to run it this way so I can get more Bitcoin from the week with, oh, it's going down. I'm going to sell mine. I'm going to sell mine. Okay. And you say, I'll take that. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I understand. Yeah, I'm glad to help out, right? And so they take your Bitcoin, and now they've added to their bags. And so when that yeast, when those beans of Jack and the Beanstalk become what they have in their nature to become, it's like they're gonna be looking at you from the land of the giants down there on the ground because you gave up what could have grew up and blew up with you in it in the best way. But see, they already know that, and they want to keep the others, whoever don't get it, you stay stupid. I'm just saying what they would say. It's not me. It's what they say, right? But this is a world changing scenario. Listen, gold had been the standard for 5,000 years. Gold. When Richard Nixon closed the gold window in August 1971 and took the world off of the gold standard, I don't even know how to describe it. It was, I don't know, it was the atomic bomb of fiat currency, meaning it blew up the global economic system and everybody went off the gold standard onto fiat. That's where we have been. And it had, when we saw what happened in 2008, which was the time that the Bitcoin white paper was released, etc., 2000, 2009, etc., first transactions, whatever. It's like that was the big bang of the next financial universe. I hope you hear what I'm saying. 1971 was the big bang and the birth of a new financial universe. And we're just experiencing at this point in time, 2025, the massive, it's like, I stand with that analogy, it's sort of like Bitcoin becomes the earth in a new solar system. Pardon me, Bitcoin becomes the sun in a new financial solar system. It's a new creation. And worlds are being born out of and upon and because of that. And if you're not connected inside of that solar system, it's like you will be without life on your planet. Okay, very important. I'm gonna leave with that analogy right there. And so let me just go and tell you, a lot of this I didn't get to cover. MashaAllah, Allahu Alam, Allah's in charge of everything. So we're gonna hang out for a couple minutes, just in case anybody has any question. If you have any kind of question, don't mean that I have all the answers, but you can ask. So we'll look at, we'll tick through that. I bring my co-host back in. All right, great. And so you still muted? Go ahead.
Yes. Muted, yeah. Sorry.
Okay, you're good. So I'm just going back to the top and tick down. It's nothing happening. Go ahead.
Okay.
So yeah. Assalamu alaikum, Jerome. You're free to speak. I'm not going to talk over you.
Oh, okay. No, I mean, we back, and I think that this is that time, especially Ramadan is a beautiful reset, we had an opportunity to go into the cave of ourselves, and we've discovered, inshallah, in that moment, we discovered something about ourselves, or that area that needs to, he says, when it says that Allah says, blessed is he that causes it to grow, right? Mm-hmm. What is it that we discovered in that beautiful, glorious reset month that needs to be grown? Mm-hmm. And that's the thing to drill down on. That's the thing we go to work on in this time, and pray Allah allows us the opportunity to see another Ramadan as we grow what was discovered within ourselves in that month. So if it's financial, yes. If it's spiritual, if our families, if it's, our relationships, if it's community, is like all of those things that will expand us, that this is that time, like for us to not be afraid to do our research, learn the things, and create the life that we need to create for our families beyond this reality. So this is always good information for us to stay ahead of the curve. And knowledge is the thing that removes and relieves us of any doubt. Like if you have doubt, it's like, okay, well, learn, go research it, learn, and then it'll clarify for you if it's yep or no. But it does require us to be students of a thing. So
yeah, absolutely. And the only thing that removes doubt is information. You get I should say correct knowledge, I should say.
Correct knowledge.
So, and you
Yeah,
get,
you know, got to clarify.
yeah, no, absolutely.
Right?
You can get a lot of knowledge, but it will not
Right.
necessarily get you where you're trying to go. Okay, so our corrector is still on.
Right. Yes. Alhamdulillah.
uh, but absolutely, yeah, I said, yeah, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I say this often, whatever. I probably wind up saying in my sleep. It's not the last thing I say. The point is, it said, knowledge is a force or an energy that makes its bearer meet and overcome obstacles, barriers, and resistance. So one of the first things that I memorized in the Nation of Islam from the Message to the Black Man. Knowledge is a force or an energy that makes its bearer overcome obstacles, barriers, and resistance. I believed it from the moment I said it, and it's a living witness for me that
Text me that.
you get the knowledge. You're gonna run through. You're gonna run over. You're gonna climb over obstacles, barriers, and resistance because the knowledge just drives you just through it, right? So you got to get it. So I don't understand it. Go get the knowledge.
Get the
Go
knowledge.
get the knowledge.
Mm.
Because I mean, it's really there is a genuine and honest fear because it's not a network marketing thing. It's not like y'all need to you get with me and get some of this so you can go. It's no. It's the thing. I dissuade anybody. Mashallah, it is what it is. I dissuade anybody from trying to get with somebody and say, yeah, I got a network marketing for Bitcoin. Nah, sorry. It ain't that kind of party. That's not what it's for, right? So the idea is, but I'm saying I have the longing and the fear of the fear for loved ones in terms of that, because when the quote unquote to the extent of the bar to entry gets so high, because that's actually what will happen, because some people think about $100,000 and you don't have to think about the whole, and I'm not going to reteach and go through this whole thing right now. But the point is, at oh man, it's $100,000. You don't have to invest $100,000.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you ride where you ride, and because you're talking about leveraging whatever asset you have to get what you can get based on the level you can get in the game. So okay, that's the level you get in at the $1,000 level. Okay, that's so many thousands of satoshis or whatever. That's fine. But when it multiplies, when your 1,000 flips to a 2x or something, okay, now you got 3,000. Okay, somebody else who flipped 2x that they had 2 Bitcoins or whatever. Okay, well maybe it's 400,000 for them. Okay, well that's the way they came in. They came in on that, but you got 2 times what you had.
Yes,
you got to count your own blessings, right? So much for that. So that's where we are. So do you see this as the fall of America? Not so much as the fall of America, because yeah, that does open up another thing. Because when Trump said "Make America Great Again," my natural first question was from the gate. It's like, okay, which America are you talking about? Because it ain't no one America, right? The James Madison and all the rest of them, they were living in different Americas right then. But there's the American of the Parchment Promise. There's the American, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men created equal and endowed by their creator. So that's an America, but that's the aspirational America, because that aspirational America was still in paper when Thomas Jefferson was owning slaves and George Washington was owning slaves at the same time. So it was an aspiration. It wasn't an actuality. So that thing that's declared in Declaration of Independence and intended by the Constitution, that America, if it exists only partially in some places in this geography. But in actuality, no. But there is the real America, and that real America calls for the balancing out of the good and the bad in the way, because that's reality, right? And reality is we don't live in the aspiration of reality. We're gonna close out, but it's just Martin Luther King when he came with the speech of the great protest, I think, or whatever, 64, whatever it was. He said, we came with a promissory note You know, it's like the promise of the Constitution. We hold these truths to be self-evident. We came with the promissory. We had a check that we were coming to Washington, D.C. to cash, and now we see it's marked insufficient funds. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can't cash this check of the promise that was made in the Declaration because you don't have the wherewithal to fulfill that promise, right?
Right.
So, and that's still, unfortunately, that's still the case at large. But there is an America that lets you go get yours no matter who trying to stop you. That's America, right?
Right.
But then even in Al-Islam, you God over it all. He said, even if a whole nation got together to give you something that he didn't intend for you to have it, you can't get it. And even if the whole nation got together to keep something from you and he intended for you to get it, there's no way for them to hold it back. So that Lord is the in God we trust.
I know that's right.
Right? So it's like, okay, so stop tripping on
Yeah.
whoever. It don't matter who's in the White House. God is God. Universe is the universe. Reality is what it is. So based on that, don't base your life on the headlines and podcasts. And it's like, come on. It's like, what's the real? Get with that, because that universe that Haja opened up with, that delivered to her what she remembered, forgot, remembered.
Yeah.
And it was still moving, right? It was still on the way from the time of the Declaration.
Yeah.
That Lord, that creation that we live in, that's what's happening. So, you know, some about what I'm saying is that I just need to say, stop tripping. Something makes me just say, stop tripping. If there's a more holy way to say it, I'll figure it out before next week. But until that time, stop tripping. God is God. Creation is creation. You're a human being. Your very mechanism is tied to the nature of creation, and God is on your side. If you are sincere to Allah, you have nothing to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my beloved.
All right,
Love
Baba.
you. It's been wonderful.
Absolutely. It's good being back.
Back on it again.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right. Assalamu alaikum, Mom.
Alaikum salam.